Oseo.
Oseo.
I start out with a Cherokee greeting and wave the great feather for the good of it. That is an Egyptian gesture too, believe it or not. And that's my theme today. My theme today is ancient Egypt here in Native America. And no matter what you've heard about these things before, this is old news new. So like that. And I'm going to be starting pretty close at hand here, east of San Diego. But first, what I'm going to say is Egypt. Egypt is an ancient country in East Africa. It's really part of Africa. The names Egypt is Greek, and also its principal characters in this, Osiris, Horus, Isis. These are all Greek names. They are all renderings from the way the Greeks were reading or attempting to read the, as the Greeks called, hieroglyphics of the ancient Egyptians. And the Greeks, were controlling Egypt from like 300 BC to 30 BC, and at that time then the Romans come in and you have Antony and Cleopatra. And so that goes on for a little while. And then later the Arabs invade, and the Arabs were in control until very recently when the people of Horus evicted Mubarak, the Arab. And so now I guess Egypt is a neutral republic or something like that. So that's a little bit about Egypt. Egypt's history is like, we go back like 7,000 years. And then we can say 5,000 or 6,000, and then 2,000 years ago, kind of in that range. The literature of Egypt, ancient Egypt, is copious. Once that the translations were discovered after 1850, and then published by Wallace Budge in England around turn of the century. So the translations also are copious. For myself, my college education in this subject was in Egyptian art history. I had a few semesters in that, and that became the groundwork for anything else, which is something that I'm going to be presenting. As far as starting with Native America here, the people that are east of San Diego, east and north, are the Coyote. The Coyote is an American name for them. They are the Morawitam, means, the first people, or the Assiniwitam, the Coyote people. And their range is basically from Temecula, north of San Diego, all the way going east out to the Salton Sea there, which in ancient times is Lake Cahuilla. In other words, they had a lake there and it went down and a new lake came up and they call that the Salton Sea. And kind of north to 29 Palms and follows south across the border as far as the Fan Palms go. So that's kind of the general range of the people we are referring to as Cahuilla. My inspiration for this theme this time is over the holidays, that's what we call it, which included my birthday. We do this every year. We were out there at Borrego Springs. And to go out there, go out sort of, what is that, going east and to San Isabel, then head north and go past Warner Springs, a now defunct resort like that, and then turn right and go east all the way out to Borrego Springs. So once we're past San Isabel, we are in the territory of the Cahuilla. And Warner Springs, an Anglo name, was formerly known as Kupa. So that's part of what starts this theme, this interest here. I'm trying to get us started here. Like I say, you go past Santa Isabel and the Estancia. There's like a chapel there with a Camposanto there, and then the road kind of takes a little rise up there, and to the left or the west is a reservation, and that's called Mesa Grande, and that's kind of a stepping stone up to Palomar Mountain. That was the home of the Thunderbird. But anyway, then you go over this rise and begin to go over. It's not a very big hill, but then it spreads out. It's just kind of like large flat region that certainly had one time been a lake, and there is a mound, very noticeable rocky mound there, and that this mound actually is known as Rabbit's Knoll, and it is the head of Osiris. So now you're wondering, how did Osiris get from Egypt, over here? Well, the archaeology of very recent in this area near Palm Springs has these people here for 7,000 years. At least chronologically, they are in sync with 7,000 years of ancient Egypt as well. So this knoll, we're calling, is Wamyaweni, meaning the rabbit's hill or rabbit's mound. And it's referred to as Tukvalpete, meaning the place where it happened. And what happened there was that the hawk, Kasili, raised up Coyote. And Coyote could see Kupa. So we're going to start, looking at that. You can go right here. This piece I just made last week, because every time we drive out there, I get inspired. I get charged up, and that's what's happened here. And so right here, this is an actual photograph of the rabbit mound, and that this is known as the head of Osiris here. And here, this is the hawk, Kasili, is raising up Coyote. Here's Coyote. And Coyote's looking across there. It's kind of a little bit northeast from this mound, and he sees Kupa. Kupa is somehow a Tigania name. The actual name is Suipeki. Suipeki means rabbit's house. And behind it is Suipik, a hill. And in that hill, the people, when they lived there, they could hear the rabbit moving around. It rumble, 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 moving around. So that's what sets all this in motion. If you can come right down all the way here, this I've portrayed here, this would be the head of Osiris. The head of Osiris on his mound. And two feathers to resemble the rabbit's ears here. In classical Egypt, the later depictions of Osiris in this way, called Winneper, does use two feathers for his headdress, as a man with a headdress of two feathers. So here, this is the head of Osiris. And on each side of my head, this is a classical figure of Horus, the hawk. And here is a folk or primitive stone piece of Horus with this sun on his head here. So that's just to get us started. If we can come all the way up to this one here. It's been years ago, I don't know how long ago, that I had the insight, feeling, or whatever it is, of what this was here. And this was my first illustration of that realization of Tukvalpete. And here's the coyote's paw and the raising up of the hawk, Kasili, here. So, however, my realization and recognition came about intuitively, I think. This is the evidence of that. About a year ago, I made this one. by using a photograph here. I put a rabbit there, and here is the ascending hawk, Coyote. And right here, this is a petroglyph. There's more than one that looks like this in New Mexico of the ascending hawk. There they called the hawk knife wing. So this is a petroglyph here, like that. Now, the rabbit aspect of this, it comes into this, is Osiris. Again, Osiris is a mythical god king, but most simply, of Egypt throughout its whole history. And he is regeneration of nature, of vegetative life. It kind of has, the cycle is that nature always renews itself, regenerates itself. That's what he symbolized. He seems to have started out as a water spirit or some moisture element is his basis there, and how that evolves. Later he kind of evolves into resurrection. He becomes the very principle of resurrection, which then becomes the fuel for the later Christians and their theme of resurrection, started here with Osiris. So much so that every Egyptian, ostensibly, of course, had that as their goal. Every man and woman definitely hoped that they would be reborn in the world of Osiris. They would be regenerated, resurrected, anything to like that. And that, shapes its whole culture for thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years. So that's the theme that I'm presenting here and carrying out even more of it. Now, if you go all the way up here and look at this, this is an Egyptian piece, and this is for Un. Un is the rabbit, and in Egypt he's called Un-Nefer. This is my reclamation of the Egyptian view of Un-Nefer. It means beautiful hair. And the fertility of this. So that's the Egyptian of Un. This zigzag is the N here. So that's the real one, what it looks like. And here he is here. And if you come over here and look at this, this is very good to illustrate, because here you can see it's a rabbit shape that's all with plant life around it, and it's green, and within it is the hawk, Horus. Horus is the son of Osiris. So it's a very good way to illustrate that. So when we come down here and you see this sparkly gold rabbit, this is a very good illustration of the way that the literature describes Osiris as Un-Nefer, like that, in gold. Nebu is gold. And it really goes to some extent, describing here the immutability of the deity now in this form as the rabbit here. And because he will never decay, he will last forever. Those are all the kind of ways that they are describing Osiris in this way here. Did I show you my portrait up here of Horus? You get a look at that. So I think at this point I need to tell you a little more about Horus. Here, this is an Egyptian Horus, the classical look, wearing the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. Here, Horus is the Greek name for herd or Heru, anything like that. He's also, the face of heaven, or he's the sky god, You can have all those kind of things to say about him. And there's different ways that he has made his appearance, you know. But I'm illustrating here is when the hawk was the first bird to be chosen by a supernatural power to carry through what foreborns. That supernatural power was the cosmic hawk, or the sky hawk, Heru. The Egyptian people are people of the hawk, because this hawk goes through all of their history right up to the Coyote out here. So this part of it here is that the hawk descends from the sky, from heaven, and lands in the marshes, which probably were around this mound here, and on a clump of tule. So that's why I have this tule-made basket that he's sitting on here. And that becomes his first appearance. And from that, this is a replica of the mound, meaning this house, you know, made out of tules or something to that effect, you know, becomes the first shrine or the first temple, and called the center of the world. Here at the doorway, there's a miniature owl. The owl is the letter M, which means that which is inside. That which is inside is the shrine called Naos. Naos is now the sacred shrine of the falcon. Falcon and hawk are interchangeable words for the same thing. So that's what's inside. On top here, I have a scorpion. The scorpion is very significant in this theme about Horus and his coming about. In this case, he's hidden. His mother is Isis in this one, and she hiding him in the marshes, in the tules there, in this place called Koptos, or modernly Chemis. And he gets stung by a scorpion, he dies. So this brings Isis. Isis is the chief medicine woman. She is all woman, all magic, all shamanic power here. And here is what, in this case, she illustrates who she is to revive Horus, who has been stung to death by the scorpion. Open your mind and find the sky, she told him. Make it blue with the day. Look down and see the desert sand glowing gold in the sun. Find the cap, now's the shrine, across the great river, and your tent warm as camel's milk, and the color like the tip of flame of your campfire. Your mother is waiting with her heart warm and glowing as the embers. She hands you a bowl of liquid, red like fresh saffron. You drink it, feel your strength returning, and the darkness washing away into the earth. So this very, very much, you know, establishes Isis, you know, as the healer and rejuvenator. So she's, you know, part of all this resurrection and so forth. And here to illustrate here, here's an artifact to show Isis here. And here next to it, this is an ancient artifact from Egypt to give more antiquity to this. Mm-hmm. And while we're right here, you can just move up to, this is a photograph very recently from Vivian Olds. She's a photographist of a hawk there in her yard in Wadsworth, Nevada. It's a beautiful photo to see how the hawk looks here. Another view of Horus, it can come over here, Yes, that's good. Yeah. This is, this is the Sekhem Hacha. This is called the harpoon of Horus. He has a warrior aspect here. And I said, kind of try to mention here that a lot of this is actually star lore. It actually has a lot to do with the stars, as do a lot of episodes in the Christian Bible. So in this, this is a harpoon that he harpoons the adversary, Seth. And Seth is usually the big bear, the great bear constellation, and Osiris is Orion, and Isis is Sirius, basically. So this is an actual Egyptian piece, and here's the Yochet, the eye, and the Ankh here. So then we can skip all the way over here, go way up there. So this eye here, here's the eye of Horus here. The eye is pervasive through all of Egypt from the beginning. So there's the eye, and then right below it, this is Soptu. Soptu is, here's the star for Horus here. He's the lone star. His name means, star of the shining feather. You see a feather, and that feather is a kestrel's feather because of the band across the top. And you can see I put a kestrel feather there so you can see what it looks like. And he has his claws, his talons out. So he has a warrior aspect. He's referred to as the lone star, so he can be Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and most recently they say Mars. He's Mars. So all that does initiate, he has you call it a warrior star here. And he seems to intercede in these stellar conflicts. Certainly the famous battle between him and Seth, is all star lore here. So here, this piece below it here, I've replicated this. So it's a bit larger than one. I found this in the Anasazi, the Pueblo ruins in Arizona. And it's an amulet. It's an amulet that's called Yuachat. Yuachat meaning the eye. It is the eye. And this eye has been fashioned in pottery. And the eye has been made in this oblong shape. That means, with this hawk's head, that this means Sokar. Sokar is the hawk who is underground. And this is the shape of his cave, which is also his symbol. The hawk lives in the ground. So when Claudia and I were staying out there at the Salton Sea at the trailer park, we got to see a hawk who was living in the ground. That is, there was a large brush-covered mound, and it had a hole in it, and we would see the hawk fly and go into that hole and come out of that hole. So that has a lot to do with the ascent of Horus from the mound. So that's my replication of an actual Egyptian Native American artifact. We come down to this one. This is a petroglyph I found somewhere out there in the desert. It was really interesting, all in all. It's about the actual size is the eye. Here the eye is being rendered in, obviously, an unnatural way. And the two dashes that are always on the cheeks of the hawk here have been put together with the eye as if the eye is radiating here. Rays coming out of this, like that. And I have, two kestrel feathers here. I had made earlier a smaller one that I liked very much, and I sent it to Deanna Beachley, artist, poet in Las Vegas, because she does have the horse eye for rendering incredible, exquisite drawings of very original pebbles. So I sent her this as a medicine piece to aid in her art here. So that gives some of that there. Now we can come all the way over here to this piece here. This is a Hopi dance board. I've replicated it from one that I've seen very accurately. It would have a handle on it to hold it, so the women were the ones who used these in a ceremony like that, and it's very accurately Horus. This is around 100 years ago, or turn of the century, so it shows that the Hopi, or Hopitu, are Egyptians. They are definitely Egyptians, and at the point of this, they knew that they were Egyptians. The Hopi come from the eastern delta. The delta is where the Nile River spreads out like in a fan with many tributaries, and that even is thought where the original of Osiris began, because it's a very fertile and very rich area, not a desert. These people, I even figured out exactly what district they were from. They're called nomes. Egypt is made up of these districts, nomes. And these people, we're calling the Hopi, they resided in the nome that overlooks the turquoise mines of Egypt. They may have even been guards, for that. And that also, you can see in their Kachina deities, their ceremonies, very similar to Egypt, and they're wearing helmets of different animals or fantastic beings here. So they are Egyptians. Further, everybody's heard of the DNA. There is, I read a report on it, it's called the chromosome count. And the chromosome count has within it what they refer to as the black factor. And this black factor, the report identified 2 locations. One is South India, and the other is the Nile. And it has been found through testing that these people of the Hopi have the black factor, so they have originated on the Nile. They are Egyptians. And this figure that I replicated shows, the hawk rising up, and this is called a moisture board. I could say it does in a way refer to Osiris as a moisture element here. And his mouth here, this is the shape of R in the hieroglyphs. So it says R for Horus here. But what really is the clincher here on his head, there are 4, I even made one to try it out. There are 4 sticks like made of bamboo as a cone. These are the 4 sons of Horus. Horus is always referred to with his long hair. And here, these are the 4 sons who are in his tresses. And that's how it's in the literature. And that above it, that I've added to it, is this lock of hair, red hair in his case. And this identifies the sons of Horus, because in their pictures, they were like young lads with a lock of hair down the side of their face here. So this is for certain that all of this has the knowledge, Egyptian knowledge, of Horus here. And then when I go here, they can put a light on these here. These are pieces from the people known as the Dogon. The Dogon people presently live in northwest Africa. Originally, they lived on the Nile. They escaped or migrated from the Nile because of the Arabs who were invading Egypt at that time. So they brought with them their Egyptian culture. All of the art, the Egyptian art, the formal art, has all been set and determined by standards, like, by certain rules that has been able to make the same style of art over a long period of time. But there's also art that's outside of that, and that's what I'm showing here. This is Dogon funerary art, and it does relate to Egypt. This figure here is Horus. This is the hawk man here, and it's been sanctified with blood. You use some animal or chicken blood, to sanctify it. So and Horus is definitely, totally figured in, the whole funerary process. The rejuvenation of Osiris and all of that. So that's who this is. It's an amazing piece. And here, people were buried with these figures to accompany them. They're called Shwabati. And here is the Dogon one, and here's to show you, this is the Egyptian one. Now, it's making very evident that this Egyptian one has been shaped in a mold. So that's part of this iconography. Here in front, to go with that, this is the bier of Osiris. And the heads here, they're called Akiru. Akiru, that they're the guardian of the morning and of the night, because they believed that the sun would go through a tunnel and come out, make the day, go through the tunnel to make the night, and that sort of thing. So these are the guardians, and these are, each one is a ram's head, and the ram is the symbol of Amun, who stands for the primeval life energy. And all this process in those days, they made a figure of Osiris, as was here. They had a mold that they made it in, and they made it with clay and seeds so that they could activate or animate it by magic. So this is Egyptian, and here is an Egyptian figure, a little one of Horus, who is definitely a part of all of this here. If you can show this here, right, you can see this. This is a gallery card of my painting. It's a very large painting, and it is the Sphinx of Pyramid Lake. And on this Sphinx, involved in it, are many, many paintings in red that are the whole Egyptian myth. There's Temu, there's the Red Deserts, there's Osiris, there's Abbasid. It's all been painted there. And the area around Pyramid Lake. The pyramid of Pyramid Lake in Egypt is called the Benben stone, or the Tadenin meaning the place, the mound of emergence. And while we're right next to it, this here I have replicated. This is actually a painted petroglyph near here. There's Egyptian paintings all the way around the lake. And this is the ascent of Horus, who is raising up Osiris, or raising up Coyote here. And while I'm over there, can you go way up here to this one? If you can see that. This is another eye, and this eye is located next to Pyramid Lake, is Lake Winnemucca, and it has the largest, I bet the largest in the country, of petroglyphs. They're huge, and I've replicated this one. It's thoroughly Egyptian. It is Remet. Here's the R, M, Remet, and the tears that are the creation of people, and so forth. So it is a genuine Egyptian hieroglyph. The hieroglyphs in Egypt are called Medu Netters. The Medu Netters basically means, divine qualities here. So I should go, back to this one here. What makes this so conclusive in what I'm presenting to you here is it has a song, a chant that goes with it. And you know, translating it, it is definitely recognizable as having come from Egypt, and the episode of how Horus the hawk is coming out of, being born from the head of Osiris. Look from Mesa Grande at Tukvalbete, dancing somehow. The surface is separating, and now see it, somehow dancing and blowing and parted to rise up, and now you see it. So that's actually what is happening, and to me is conclusive of that these people, known as the Coyote, have come from Egypt and over an incredibly long period of time have retained the narrative of Horus the hawk. Now, if you go all the way over there to that mask I have on the wall, this is a Coyote mask carving that I got out there, and this is Kasili Piwish. Kasili Piwish is actually, in Egypt, Horus the Younger. You see the two strokes on his cheeks that mark him as the hawk, and his long hair. Even in the Coyote narrative, you say, and we washed his long hair, and we threw beads over him to praise him. They mean when they recognized him. His mother is not named except the woman who crossed the river. She came across the water and brought him to the people here, and they recognized him. And the episodes, you know, of him show that Kasili Bigwick, meaning hawk, his down feather, is the hero of the Coyote. Who is Osiris in their culture? Mukhat. Mukhat. I've presented otherwise. I don't have an image of him right now, but Mukhat is everything that is said for Osiris. Now one more. Oh yes, I nearly forgot my painting. Yeah. So here's my painting. My painting, I've given it name of Horus bears Yuachat. Yuachat is the name of the eye. So all of the classical, you know, portrayals or renditions of this subject, I can do my own feeling about it. So that's who this is. This is the hawk giving birth to the eye, and the eye goes through everything like that. And there's the rabbit down here. He resembles a jackrabbit. Rabbits and hare in the theme, like hawk and falcon, are interchangeable, but actually there's a difference between a rabbit and a hare. A hare is born with his eyes open, different from a rabbit. It seems to be the main thing that makes him outstanding. So this is my painting there with the hawk flying overhead, and the hawk I have surmounted it, the painting with here. Now I can come here to this one. Yeah. The earliest, you can say, word or name for Osiris is an eye. And I think that the Greeks, by the time the Greeks took over, a lot of the old hieroglyphs couldn't be remembered. They didn't know how to read them or something. So the Greeks kind of seemed to, fend for himself in that, and somehow the eye gave them the clue to call it, Osiris, if that makes sense to you. And so this is the eye of Osiris. Again, the Egyptian character says something like Asar or Yusar, which means strong. And the Korea equivalent for Osar would be Iva, having the same meaning, or Ivahwe, meaning the power of his eye, is basically it. And this piece that I've written here, to me, brings it all together in a poetic way. Writing of fire on a slice of jade, crack in the stone, queen of snakes, column of mist, spring from a rock, goddess of valleys under the sea, guardian of mermaids, lady of the flute and lightning flashes, terrace of jasmine and a rose branch, writings of the sea on basalt rocks, snake shapes of wind in desert sand, the sun's last will, pomegranate seeds, face of flames, face wrought by nightly years and circular days that open out on the same wall. The moment is a flame, and all the faces in the flames are a single face. All of the names, a single name. All of the faces, only one face. All the centuries, one moment. And through all the centuries, a single moment. And through all the centuries of the centuries, the way to the future clouds over in a pair of eyes. Aho.
Aho.
Thank you. Thank you for